Hey, Bold Dreamers, happy Saturday. It's Kara here, and I wanted to jump on and ask you this question. And that question is, what is your greatest fear? As you think about your life, what is your greatest fear? And if I'm thinking about my own life and I'm thinking about, real tangible fears, hands down, my greatest fear, it's not even close, are snakes. I absolutely despise snakes. And, so much so that I would call it not a fear, but more of a phobia. And if I'm reading a book to kids and there's one of those on the book, on the page, I've been known to whip the book down to get away from it. One time I was teaching, and after teaching I had to go to coach soccer, and oftentimes because it was a tight time schedule there, I would do a wardrobe adjustment while I was driving, and one of my teacher friends who thought she was funny, and I did not think she was funny at all, but she put a rubber snake in my backpack. And so I was driving and I went to get my cleats and my shorts out, and all of a sudden I see this thing and I am screaming, and I throw the backpack down and I whip into the gas station, and there's a big garbage truck and there's a guy pumping gas, and I get out of the car and I'm screaming. I'm saying, there's a snake in my car, there's a snake in my car. And he said, it's okay, where is it? And I said, passenger seat on the floor, you have to get it out, please. Oh, I hate snakes, I can't stand them. And he said, opens the door and he goes in, and he said, where? And I said, in the backpack. And he goes in the backpack and he said, it's a rubber snake. I said, I know, I hate them, just take it. He's like, well, what do you want me to do with it? I said, I don't care, throw it away, give it to your kids, whatever. But I absolutely despise snakes. Another time I was trimming Christmas trees. That's what I did for work in high school. And I would trim with a bunch of girls, and we would always have headphones in and be listening to our music and stuff. And they knew how much I hated snakes. They knew how great my fear is. And so this one day I'm trimming along, and all of a sudden I heard something and saw something move under the tree. And I threw my shears and ran as fast as I could to the end of the row of Christmas trees. And we had driven a pickup truck out, and I didn't stop at the pickup truck. I didn't get in the pickup truck, but I ran right up the hood, and I was standing on the top of the cab of the pickup truck screaming because I thought there was a snake under my tree. And when I turned and I looked back at the field, it kind of looked a little bit like a massacre. All of my friends were just laying there laughing hysterically at me. So I want to invite you to think about fear in your own life, and how does fear show up? It shows up a lot of times. Hey, Erin, good to see you. It shows up in some really concrete ways, that fight or flight syndrome, like I just talked about. Your heart races, you get an elevated body temperature, you get shortness of breath, and all of those things. But I think there are other ways that fear shows up, and it's a little more deceptive. It may be in driving that perfect someone away because you are afraid that you're going to get hurt in a relationship. Fear may show up in keeping you stuck in a job that you don't like for 20 years because maybe you're afraid that there isn't something better that exists for you. Maybe also hey Andy, good to see you. Maybe fear shows up and you stay in that job because you're afraid you're not good enough for something different. Fear shows up in the way of excuses and in the way of procrastination. But if we're really going to be bold dreamers, if we're going to be those people that are really going after life and striving forward and making those changes, we need to redefine our relationship with fear. And one of the important things for us to realize is that fear is going to be our constant companion. That whole idea of fearlessness, it's a myth. It doesn't happen that way. Fear is going to be our constant companion. In her book, Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about it, and she refers to it as a road trip. And whenever she does anything interesting, she says she makes a place for fear. She expects fear to show up. But she, says to fear, you're not allowed to drive, you're not allowed to change the radio, you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to do anything. But you're allowed to come along because I understand that, you're going to be there. You're going to be part of the journey as I move forward in my life. So fear is a constant companion. The second thing is that fear is simply feedback. Fear is not saying, you can't do it. Fear is saying you haven't done it. I expressed to you guys that these Facebook Lives are not something that I've been incredibly comfortable with because I haven't done them. I feel that fear. I feel that elevated, heart rate, and I feel my body temperature increasing and shortness of breath and all of those things. But it's not telling me I can't do it. It's feedback saying I haven't done it. And the third concept, there's there's a great book. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And I think our greatest fear is that we won't be able to handle something. You know, that whatever happens, we won't be able to handle it. If I do try that, and if I do step out and it doesn't work for me, you know, what about what everybody says, and what about what I think of myself? But the truth is that as we reflect on our lives, I think there are many things that we probably wouldn't have signed up for. And we have figured out a way to get on with it, and figured out a way to deal with our fear and to overcome those things. And so the third point that I really want to talk to you today when we think about fear is that the way we overcome fear, hey Pam, the way that we overcome fear is by increasing our desire. By increasing our desire. The other day I got back from walking my dogs, and my Roomba was out, and my Roomba's name is Roz, and Roz was in the kitchen and she was doing her thing. And I have a 90-pound black Labrador, or 90-pound yellow Labrador who is 2, and a 100-pound black Labrador who's 8. But Piper was really afraid, and she took off for the back bedroom and buried herself under the pillows. And so I stopped Roz in the kitchen, and I thought, you know, we are going to work on this fear once and for all. And I kept calling Piper, and she would have nothing to do with it. And so, being the tricky little conniving dog mom that I am, I went to the refrigerator and I opened up the container of chicken. And as I opened up the container of chicken, I heard these little footsteps coming down the hallway. And I peeked around the corner, and there was this little yellow lab's head peeking around the corner at me. And I took it one step further. I got the chicken out, and I held the chicken up so Piper could see it and she could smell it. And as soon as she could see it and smell it, she walked right past Roz and came and sat down to get her treat, to get the chicken. And I think in our own lives, we're like that. You know, we start stepping out of our comfort zone. We have this great idea that we want to do something new, try something different. You know, a new job, maybe a new relationship, maybe it's taking a different vacation or doing something different for the holidays. And we start stepping out of our comfort zone. Fear shows up. And, you know, we hit this terror barrier, and we get so scared that what most people do is that they go and they retreat right back to their comfort zone. And they stay stuck, and they stay unfulfilled, and they stay unhappy in situations. And what I know, and I think what you guys know, if we're going to be bold dreamers, we need to be comfortable coming up, hitting that terror barrier, and having the awareness that, you know what, I'm hitting my terror barrier. And if we push through, on the other side of that is more growth, more fulfillment, and more fun than we've ever had. But we have to be willing to feel a little uncomfortable with that fear. And so the way that we overcome fear is by increasing our desire, increasing your desire. As you think about your life, and I want to invite you to take a look at your own life, where are those ways where you really need to dial up your desire? And I'm sure it's not for chicken, but where you need to dial up your desire so that that fear is minimized, and so that you can keep moving forward in your own life. So thanks for joining, guys. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next week. Take care.